He's now head chef.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure about that.
You can't sell that. I wish you could.
I've been really privileged to be a part of that.
Look what Daddy did.
I do have a little black book of all the names.
Here we go. Hello and welcome to Under the Lid, the Inside Pro Cricket podcast with me, Jack Brooks.
And me, Katherine Sciver-Brunt.
Absolute legend. Well, we've made it back for episode 2. How have you managed this? By popular
Not
demand,
sure.
or got lucky, didn't we?
Yeah.
We've had some fan mail, Katherine, and by we, I mean you, and by some, I mean quite a lot.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it? I might have to write in for you next week, Jack.
I'll have to write it for myself. There's only one legend on this podcast, isn't there? I'm just the assistant to you, really, but we'll come back to that later on.
We shall.
We have a little bit of time pressure this week as well, because I am here with a 9-month-old asleep upstairs, sweating that he won't wake up at any second. You are about half an hour from catching a flight back home, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm actually in my pants, so go about 25 minutes. Let's go. Let's get on with it.
Grab your passport and get out.
Yeah.
And our guest this week, I think, has just got back home after finishing a championship game. But I'm guessing he'll be pretty happy because they won up at Trent Bridge. But we'll hear more from him in a minute.
Yes. We've got coming up on this episode 2. Let's get these racked up. He's actually made quite a steep rise, actually, in his start as a professional cricketer after his debut season, and he won some silverware with Essex in 2017, I believe, in their winning season. So he's already doing very well. Could be an England prospect. Love to talk to him about that. So yeah, exciting guest this week.
Yeah, of course, the one and only Sam Cook, Essex opening bowler, always amongst the wickets, never gets hit for runs, useful night watchman, and he's just taken a 10th first match of the season, including a hat-trick, which is absolutely crazy. So I'm really looking forward to chatting to Sam. Let us know, Katherine, how the fans can get in contact with us.
Yep, as always, if you want to get in contact, it's #underthelid, or you can email us at hello@underthelid.co.uk.
Wicked, let's get more fan mail for Katherine Brunt next week, please.
No.
So, Brunty, you are leaving New Zealand and leaving Hamilton. Are you happy?
I am happy. I know that sounds weird. I should always be more, grateful for traveling all around the world, but I am ready for my own bed. I'm ready to unpack a suitcase, wash my clothes, see my dog, and settle down. It's been, obviously went to Delhi as well, so it's been a bit of a long old stint, and I'm not made for this anymore. I don't know what I'm doing here, to be fair. So yeah, Hamilton's been actually a bit better than, I know I slated it last episode, but it's actually been a bit more entertaining than first saw. So enjoying that. Didn't enjoy the last ODI though. The girls got smashed, is the best word to describe that. A little bit of a wobble. They're allowed to lose one game, but I think the way in which they lost, they probably weren't too happy about. I certainly wasn't.
Were they already on the plane?
Some will say that, and that's what they tried not to do in the last T20, the third T20, when they'd already won the series then as well, which they didn't do. They won that, so but maybe they had checked out in this one. But they certainly had a great time afterwards. I saw myself, like, I'm obviously 40 next year, but I partaked in a bit of karaoke, beer pong, and a boat race celebration. So
what's your karaoke song? Come on.
It's actually a bit of Madonna, Like a Virgin. Well, you can just sing it a little bit wild, can't you? You don't have to take it too serious, and that's the key for me.
That's because you're wild.
So I am fairly wild. So
you're young if you're 40 next year, because I'm 40 this year. So, but we'll come back to that later on. The fact you're still doing beer pong and karaoke—that's great. Keeps you young, doesn't it?
Young at heart. We both are, Jack. You know you are.
forever. Well, one thing that's aged me is having a baby, which again I touched on last week. Again, I'm here
dear.
alone tonight. My missus is working abroad for a few days, so I am dad watch, and I'm staring at him every couple of seconds on the monitor to make sure he's not waking up. But I've also done a bit of coaching. Got the in-laws over this morning whilst I was out coaching for a few hours. Had a busy week coaching last week as well, so that was great. A bit of private stuff locally, whilst we actually managed to get outside in the sun for a few hours for the first time for a little while. And I've been really excited about the build up to the county season as well, which hasn't disappointed other than the fact that some of the games didn't get played and there's been a bit of rubbish weather. But the games that have been played, quite a lot of excitement kicking around, quite a lot of runs as well for a early season.
It's been an unbelievable season, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. There was a few surprises. There's been a few very good performances kicking around. Kashif Valley, 200s in the same game. Sam Northeast, the highest ever score at Lords, with his 335 not out, which is incredible. Ryan Higgins got a double 100. Ben Mike got a 90 and a 4. I could go on. There's loads of hundreds kicking around, loads of people. But I'm not going to keep banging that drum.
It's going to make the rest of the season boring now. Beat that.
Exactly, yeah.
Should we stop gassing on about ourselves? And shall we?
Yes.
Let's get on to our guest.
For the main event, one of the best seamers in the county game over the last few years. I'm really looking forward to talking to him today because he's just taken a 10-foot. He's got a hat trick. He's a gun bloke. Please welcome the little chef, Sam Cook.
Hi guys, how are you?
Head chef.
He's now head chef.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure about that. I can't take that mantle yet.
I want it to catch on. Fantastic. So
you've just got the bus back to Essex, have you?
Yeah, literally got in 5-10 minutes ago, so straight off the bus and in for the pod. But yeah, literally, obviously it was nice to get a bit of an early finish up in Notts. So yeah, nice to be home at a reasonable time, which, as you guys would know, after games isn't always the case.
I was going to say, you didn't go hard too early, first game of the season, then after your first win.
It was a very, very tame bus journey back. I think everyone was back to reality of how tiring 4-day cricket can be. So yeah, everyone was pretty shattered on the bus on the way back, to be fair.
How Essex has changed, mate. Right, mate. First things first, talk to me about your hat trick and your thought process during it.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot. I think, to be honest, actually, how we'd bowled up to, I hadn't bowled particularly well before that spell, so we were chasing the game a little bit when that second new ball came around. So it's lucky to have sort of the lower order in. Obviously, to get Lyndon first, that was nice. Obviously, he's a really good batter, and then the next two, it was just trying to hit the seam as hard as I could, as straight as I could, and luckily sort of one nipped away and one nipped back, and luckily it was given. So I'd never got a hat trick before in any cricket before last season, so to get 2 in 2 years was a bit strange, and yeah, no, it was a good feeling.
I saw it nip back. Do you reckon it nipped back a bit too much, or thoughts?
Well, I saw a few comments on Twitter suggesting it may have, but it looked pretty good from where I was.
Well, to be honest, what I will do for all the keyboard warriors is they like it. It was only a behind the stump viewpoint, so no one can comment. I just wanted your comment.
I think the first one might have been a bit high, but I think the third one was actually out. I must say, I'll admit that. Nah,
they're all clipping. Do you know what the county? I've started following. I'm getting really into the men's cricket now. I don't normally, so you've got a new fan here, but there's a clip on the County Champs Instagram, and it's like there's a ton. I was going to say a ton of celeb appealing, just literally not even turning around, just literally running straight down. And most of it, there's this one lad, I forgot his name now, I'm going to have to go back, and he's just like thinks everything is out, bit Brody style. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's like about 5 or 6 in a row, and the umpire's just nah, sorry. It's fantastic.
I never did it as a bowler. I could never do it. I've never took a hat trick in any form either. What about you, Catherine?
There might have been one.
Really?
Yeah, like in county champs, like many, many moons ago.
Not even at like under 11s or anything like that back in the day. The amount of wickets in this podcast, I mean, there's only 2 Hattricks.
I'm a bit old. Things are a bit faded. I'm sure someone write in some stato out there. Let me know. Right. Bit of a change to Essex team over the winter. Lost Dan. Sorry, listeners, Dan Lawrence. And Cookie, your mate Cookie. So that's quite a big deal for most teams. But you've brought in, obviously, Elgar, who for me is, I mean, he's not quite Alistair Cook, but fairly light for light. How's sort of the balance of the team and how's it going?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, firstly on Dan and Chef, like 2 huge holes to fill in the dressing room. So obviously, at the end of last year, it was probably quite daunting. Looking forward to this season, like 2 guys, it's pretty difficult to replace. But I think credit to the club. I don't, like you said, I don't think we could have filled the shoes much better, to be honest. Dean, obviously, with his unbelievable international experience and record, and he's come in and been brilliant already. Just not, firstly on the field, but also off the field as well. Like he's brought so much to the dressing room, and then Coxie as well. Obviously, one of the most exciting young players in the game right now, and see very similar ability wise to what Dan was. So, in terms of how they've filled the gaps, it's been very seamless. Obviously, it's different getting new people into the dressing room as well, because Dan and Cookie are obviously massive characters in the changing room, but they've both been brilliant and fitted in really well. And I think it's obviously really nice to start with a win this week to show that kind of we can sort of slip back into gear and kind of pick up where we left off with Dan and Cookie as well.
Yeah, pretty emphatic win to start, mate. Where's Brownie? Is he out of form or injured? Or
I think he picked up a bit of a niggle in pre-season, and young Faro's has been really exciting. So he's kind of grabbed his chance, and yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, he's definitely a good player, mate. I can't remember the last time that you would have played a championship game without Brownie and Cookie at the top of the order. It must have been years ago.
Yeah, it's certainly a long time ago. Certainly.
Did you just mention? Sorry, Jack. Just quick. Did you just mention young Faro's there? You have a little bit of drama on that, I hear.
Yeah, something's gone on. Something's happened today, Cookie, isn't it? With the size of a bat or something.
Oh, I mean, I think, yeah. So I think I'm not sure exactly what happened because I was taking 5 minutes out the back, waiting to be night watchman, flapping, getting my pads on. So I didn't really see what happened, but I think essentially, I think his bat got a bit stuck. You know, the gauges that they've got where they can be sort of, they don't always, if you angle them, they get stuck a bit. So I think there's a bit of a problem with one of his bats, but I honestly, I don't know. It's above my pay grade what's going on there, but fingers crossed that's all right and nothing comes of that.
Yeah, poor old Coochie. Hopefully nothing comes back to the club on that. You might lose some points, but he'll feel pretty rubbish about that.
It's not his fault. Yeah, it's not his fault.
Talking about making a name for yourself, this podcast is in association with the PCA and the Cricketer magazine, and you've been a PCA rep for many years. I've seen you at plenty of functions over the years. And you've also spoken about the county schedule before, particularly end of last season. How important is the schedule to you and where you see where it sits for players going forward?
Yeah, massive. I think, like you said, I've been quite sort of outspoken on the topic. I think in terms of, I think there's 2 sides to it. I think it's personally where I see the game going in the future and how we kind of keep the game relevant and keep county cricket thriving into the future, not just surviving, but thriving and getting better. And also just from a personal experience point of view, I've seen, lucky to now play for not a really long time, but sort of 6-7 years now, and kind of seeing how the game's changed from even when I started to now, particularly around the blast and sort of not just the intensity of the blast, but the scheduling of the blast. And obviously the 100's been a phenomenal success and been really privileged to be a part of that. And I think that is the future of English cricket and it's going to keep the English game growing. So that's obviously here to stay. But in terms of the rest of the season, I just don't see it being sustainable. I think, as you guys would know, I think you rock up to games an awful lot of times feeling like you're just sort of getting through games rather than actually preparing and performing at 100%, which then sort of ties in with if guys have got aspirations to play for England and particularly how international cricket's being played now. I don't think the schedule we've got is a fair reflection of high performance and the best that the game can be, because we've got some amazing cricketers in this country, both men's and women's games, who can do things that guys have never been able to do before. So just trying to maximize that, I think there is going to have to be some give, because ultimately you can't keep, we've got a finite number of days in the summer and a finite amount of cricket that needs to be played. So you can't, no matter how you move it around and change things, unless you take some cricket out somewhere, I don't see how there's going to be a massive change.
Yeah, and you need to breathe as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's there's just no time to breathe. I found that in the women's game. I don't know how you guys have handled scheduling, because it's the men's has just seemed mad, but the women's has really gotten mad, and that's the scheduling's been a massive talking point for us the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think a huge thing as well is, obviously we spoke before, and lots of, whether it's members or ex-players, saying, well, sort of the schedule's not, there's no more cricket, there's less cricket than we played back in the day. But I think, like I sort of said there, even in the time that I've been playing, the intensity of the game has changed massively. So I think the schedule needs to change to sort of reflect that as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of player welfare and safety after a game when you've got to drag it home and you've got a game somewhere the next day. You've got to be somewhere. It is crazy at times. Like I've played a little bit, probably I was like 15 years in the game. Brunty was longer than that, and there was a lot of changes in that period, and the intensity. And I don't remember there being 1 year ever when there wasn't a lot of complaining about the schedule. Though something's changed every year, and there's still a lot of complaining. It's never going to be perfect. And I still think there still needs to be a decent amount of championship cricket to make it relevant and to make not a take competition, just with the amount of teams and players there are as well. So maybe something else has to lessen a little bit. Do we need as many blast games? I don't know. I mean, I don't have the answers. We could sit here all night and talk about it. But moving on to you and your England aspirations, mate. You've obviously been in and around the England line set up now for a little while, and you've been cruising at the top of the wicket taking charts for an county championship for Essex for a few years. Do you know where you sit at all? Have we had many conversations? Do you think about it much? When I was in a similar position to you a few years ago, it's obviously you being talked about, and it's difficult not to let your mind wander at times, and you say you're not thinking about it, but then you realise how important it is. And where do you sit with it all at the minute?
Firstly, I'd obviously desperate. I'd love to play for England. I think that's first and foremost. Like, it's my dream. Like, no young player growing up, that is your dream, to play for England. And like you say, obviously feel like I've been close the last few years, and obviously having that Lions experience probably spurs you on and drives you more in that direction. But I think I've been probably guilty in the last couple of years of maybe getting too consumed by that, and I've tried to not let it define me as a cricketer. And then particularly in the last sort of 6 months, I've really sort of gone back to basics and tried to focus completely on what I do well, and just make sure that I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and how lucky I am to be playing, whether it's for Essex or where I've fortunate to play around the world now. Just keep enjoying it and keep sort of doing what I do really well, and then hopefully those performances down the line will be rewarded. But I try not to get consumed by it. But that being said, I'm still massively driven to want to get better and get to that next level. So I think it can be a hard thing trying to find that balance at times, and I think I've probably not found that balance before, but I think I'm getting to a point now where I'm starting to find the balance well, of trying to keep trying to improve and keep trying to get better every day, but not become consumed by the selection. If that makes sense.
Definitely makes sense. Have you sort of had these conversations with, the England selectors or the coaches, bowling coaches, about what it is you need to do to get in that England team? Like, do I need to be a yard quicker, or do you want this kind of cricketer? Like, what is it that I've got to do to push through to get myself there? Obviously, the 100's been brilliant to give people like that platform. Like, I really stood up and noticed you at the Rockets, like, big fan here. And for your like whole game, your cricket is brilliant and something that needs to be snapped up. So what's like the specific feedbacks? I know that a lot of our girls get really annoyed when they don't know what the path looks like. What do I have to do to get there, sort of thing?
Yeah, to be fair, the communication I've had throughout when I was involved with the Lions and this winter as well, it's been really good and really positive. I think they have been, my experience of it is they have communicated to me pretty well. Like this winter, for example, I chose not to do the Lions stuff, but that was a joint decision with Mo Bobat and with England. And mainly the reason being that I had an offer to play in South Africa, and the opportunity to go and play somewhere new. And in terms of my style as a bowler, the Lions were touring India. I toured Sri Lanka the winter before, so I'd done a lot of subcontinent work the year before. And ultimately, I'm honest, I know my skill set probably isn't suited to playing in the subcontinent. They know that. And it was a sort of two-way decision. Go and play in South Africa suits your skill set a lot more, and then with the future looking down the line to potentially play out there for England. So for me, it was, they have been quite open with communication. They've never said to me there's been a problem with pace, but ultimately they've said to me, look, the spots you're going for are Jimmy, Brody, Robbo. So three of the best bowlers with the best averages that you've had in a long time. So I've been kind of unfortunate as a player, but fortunate as a fan, because I love watching those guys bowl, and massive fan of Jimmy, obviously. I've been fortunate to spend a bit of time with him last winter. So yeah, it's kind of been a bit of bad luck, but for me, the communication's been pretty good, and they've kind of just said, keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully down the line that'll get recognised.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. You can't do a lot more than take a 10 for first game of season, can you?
I mean, yeah, it's a nice start. But try and back it up somewhat next week. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. That comes around
Good
quick.
luck.
Set the stall out, mate. Well, you've got some great bowlers around you at Essex, and I know from my time playing against you guys for the last 5 or 6 years, if Cook doesn't get you, Porter will. If Porter doesn't get you, Harmer will. And then you always had Tall Paul, and now you've had Snates come on and do really well. And then you have Peter Siddle, Neil Wagner. Like, you've had some serious bowlers at the club, and on a pitch which is helpful to you guys. Talk to me a bit about the Essex bowling partnerships and what it's like and what your roles are. Obviously, this week you had you, Jamie, and Snates, and then Harmy. It's probably not very often that you win a game bowling a team out last innings, and Harms doesn't really come to the party. Didn't need to, did he?
Yeah, I think we're extremely fortunate with the depth that we've got, and I think it's testament we've got how good our sort of second team bowling attack is, because we've got some very good young bowlers in there, Beardy, Ben Allison, and some guys coming through that in a lot of other teams would be on the team sheet every week. But like you say, we've obviously got attack that is well balanced, and I think, like you say, obviously, I think we cover sort of most conditions. If there's a bit of seam movement, like you say, myself, Ports, Snates, we'll hopefully try and extract that, and then tend to be on flatter, drier wickets. Like you say, Harmy comes into his own, so it's kind of like we've got most bases covered. I think one thing we've been pretty good, our injury record, touch wood, I can't believe I'm actually saying that, has been fairly decent the last few years. So, but even when guys have gone down, like Snates towards the back end of last year, got picked up an injury, Benny Allison, Beardy, they've come in and done brilliantly well as well. So I think we've got a nicely balanced attack. And yeah, I think in terms of our roles, we're all quite similar in terms of we like to keep things pretty tight. So when it maybe isn't quite doing as much, we don't tend to let the scoreboard get away from us too much. And we've got pretty good control in there. And then I think we have occasionally started to play four seamers a little bit more as well, because I know Brooksy alluded to the fact that Chelmsford can be quite helpful to seamers. But in terms of how we've tried to set up the wickets, particularly maybe the last couple of years, they have been drier and slower. So there's been times when we've needed to go to four seamers just to manage that. And then obviously Harmy, like you say, it's quite nice to have someone of his quality there to win your games, whether it's towards the end or throughout. He's obviously a class operator. So I think, yeah, in terms of our attack and partnerships wise, we've got it in a pretty good space in the minute.
Yeah, you've got a great balance there, mate. Yeah, like that kind of balance, you're always dying for something like that. There's no rest for the batter. One comes another. Brilliant. I think, should we move on to our cricket archive? Guest stat alert. There should be some sort of siren. Whoop, whoop.
I wonder if Cookie will know this if we ask him the question. Did you know that you got Jacqueline out more than anyone else?
Well, there's actually, I do have a little black book of all the names
Here we go.
in my bag
Are you serious?
with, I swear to God, with little dashes, which I started doing as a joke when I first started, and it's become a bit of a thing now in the changing room. But so I've kind of managed to keep it going, but it's not exactly a cricket archive style, so you have to look through manually who's got the dashes. But yeah, I do have a little book, so I do keep an eye on it from time to time. But I'd like it to be a thing when I finish playing that it's fairly full.
That sounds a little bit witchery, doesn't it? Just like Pokey will be poking dolls next. Is it in your cricket bag? Have we got this?
It's in my rucksack.
Can we put eyes
I'll
on
find it somewhere. I'll find it. If you give me 2 seconds, I'll get it. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. I've heard about this before, but you never actually meet someone who actually has a black book.
I'm not being funny. I'm a little bit terrified. I'd like to, a little bit. Terrified.
It's not quite as exciting as it looks, but it
is a little black book though.
It is, and you can see all the. It's quite neat with all the names, and Brooksy's in here somewhere. Hold on, let me find him. There he is. 23. There you are, Brooksy. Somewhere in there.
It's a tally. This is fantastic.
So yeah, it's really sad, but I thought it was something that when I started playing, we made a joke about doing with the more senior guys, and I've carried on doing it now. But yeah, it's a bit sad.
This is so good. I wish I had done that. We don't even need to ask him something about himself. This is the best thing I've ever heard.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And you can go back your whole career and go back. That's brilliant. It's fantastic.
Well, that's more the idea, is when I finish playing, it'll be something nice to look back on. But yeah, at the minute, people think I'm just a bit weird.
There'll be people on there who go down as legends in the game, and you can show your kids. I got them out 14 times. Fantastic.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, that Rooty was shit. Look what Daddy did.
I'm not sure about that.
Is Rooty in there? You got Rooty out?
He's in there, yeah.
Yeah, big time, baby. Right, moving on, mate. You obviously know a lot about the MVP for the men's county MVP award. Very early on, I know it's only 1 week in, but you're up to third, mate. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank
but
you.
I find it's so difficult to win it as a bowler. You've got to be very good, obviously, and take lots of wickets regularly. So you've done well to get up there. You're behind, I think, Sam Northeast at second and Cash Ali at number 1 at the minute. 5 months, 3 weeks to go, mate. See if you can hold on and make a push for number 1.
We have to make some runs, I think. I think everyone knows that it's weighted to the batters.
Just FYI, though, me and Jack both obviously believe you should be number 1, don't we, Jack?
Well, I'm a bowler. I will always pump up the tyres of bowlers.
This is a bowlers podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to look after our bowlers.
Oh, big time.
If Cash was here, I'd say, yeah, congrats, mate. Let's try and win it for you.
Yeah, he's done brilliantly. Yeah, I can't take anything away from them, especially in April.
Well, yeah, exactly. Double against the local rivals as well. Do you look at the stats side of cricket or take much of an interest in the MVP or not?
I think we do take an interest in the MVP because Harmy's normally up the top, so the nice big check comes through normally just in time for the October dues. So no, we do keep an eye on it more for him, but for me, not really. No, I think you always keep an eye on who's where, and people talk about it in the change rooms, wicket takers and stuff. But I think that's been one thing I've been pretty good at balancing, is not getting too caught up in the stats side of it and just trying to focus on what's in front of you, as cliche as that may sound, but that is something I've actively tried to do since I've been playing.
You haven't got a little black book of stats then?
No, there's no averages or anything in there. It's just dashes.
He can't reveal any more. Poor guy.
No, the rest is secret.
Yeah, this is a secret podcast. No one will see. So if you don't, whilst you're not seeing yourself as the overall MVP, which we do, any thoughts on potentially from other teams or yourself or your team? Like, any thoughts on the MVP for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Harmy's always up there, isn't he? In terms of all round catching, I think that's a big factor in it. Is that probably sneaks under the radar? Is catching has a lot to do with it. Like so Craig Overton's always up there, isn't he? Runs wickets and catches. But yeah, I mean, it's so hard to predict, isn't it? Every year, it kind of you have the usual suspects in and around, but there's always some new names up the top. So yeah, I'll be interested to see who's there come the end of the season, and I wouldn't want to make a prediction this early.
It's hard, isn't it? It's a long old season.
Well, we had, was it Ben Duckett on last week, and we talked about Liam Dawson. I think he won it last year. He's going to be tough to beat if he has a good year, isn't he? Just all forms,
100%.
all rounder.
Yeah,
Ryan Higgins, Vincey, they were top 3 last year. It's tough for an out-and-out bowler, isn't it? But obviously Harmer within the slips and takes a lot of catches in the outfield as well in one-day cricket and T20 cricket.
yeah, for sure.
Right, it's time for Under the Lid's big question. I love how we love building this stuff up. So every week we ask our guest to come up with something about them. Ideally not cricket related. Best if it's a bit weird, a bit quirky. Keep it clean, obviously. But we want a bit of something about you, like the fans. Obviously, we're on about getting under the lid. That's the gist of the show. So we want to know something about you that nobody knows, if possible. And if it's rubbish or boring, we might have to ask you to go again.
I mean, I'm quite stereotypical cricketer, and I just like playing golf in my spare time. So there's not the only thing I think that's maybe slightly different is my other hobby is DJing. So probably I can't think there'll be many other cricketers out there that are maybe into sort of dance and house music and DJing. So that might be something slightly quirky that I can give you an insight to, but mainly comes from the days at Loughborough Uni. So DJing was quite a handy skill to have back then.
House parties.
Exactly.
Have you DJ'd in Ibiza though?
No, I've
Not
been.
yet.
I managed to. Not yet. Well, that could be a PCA post cricket career module maybe that we could look at. So I'll have to speak to powers that be there.
Well, it's funny you should say that, mate, but I've heard you've been in line for a potential DJ set at PCA Awards.
Well, this has been floated, and at previous PCA Awards this has been floated, but I'm not sure.
You'll get a booking.
Oh God, the nerves would be. It'd be the most nervous I'd be for anything.
Really?
So I'm not sure. No, I think I'll let the professionals stick to that, and I'll stick to my house parties and bedroom DJ sessions.
No, how good would that be though? It's always potluck though, isn't it? You turn up to the PCA Awards, you have a great night, but it's the entertainment part is potluck. What we're going to get? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be this? I think that would go down a storm.
That would be even more pressure though. The building up to that, I think you're better off getting someone who that is their day job, not me. And then save it for maybe the PCA Golf Summit or something instead.
You'd have to have a fair few drinks leading up to it by the sounds, and then it could all go wrong.
I think that would be the problem. I think you've got the whole day leading into the awards, which tends to be a 12 o'clock start. So I'm not sure come whatever time it would be.
And what if you had to pick up
set
MVP? You have to stay sober enough to give your speech and then put
exactly. There's too many factors to. I think I'll leave it. I'll speak to Ali and leave it to the professionals. I think.
Think of the future, mate. Future outside the game, next career. Start it now. All classic PCA chat.
Oh dear. I hope this doesn't catch on. I hope this doesn't catch on.
Brunty, your world famous Naf Quiz. Shall we get it going?
Let's get it going. Welcome to the last round. I love this line where our guests get to swing from the ring and answer as many questions as they can in 60 seconds. Right, I promise I'm going to be better this week because I was really poo last week with Ben. I stitched him up a bit. I was reading real slow. I'm going to help you out, Sam, because a fellow rocket. The prize hasn't been decided yet, has it, Jack? But we're working that out.
Most of the questions are a cricket theme. There's the odd half volley thrown in just to make you think. We're going to take it in turns. You've got 60 seconds to answer as many as you can, mate. Simple as that. So
Sure.
hopefully the pressure kicks in round about now.
Okay.
And we'll get a timer up.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Who was your hat-trick delivery against on Saturday?
Dylan Pennington.
Correct. What is your first class bowling average?
19 something. I'm not sure what.
Oh, can we give him that?
19,
We'll decide after.
no,
Yeah, that'll do. Question 3. What year was Essex County Cricket Club formed?
1873.
Oh, so close. 76. What are the names of the Essex Eagles mascots?
Eddie and Ellie.
Correct. How many followers do you have on Instagram?
Not a clue. 5,000.
8,000.
More.
How many
More.
sixes have you hit in a professional cricket?
How many six? 6, maybe 5 or
Correct.
6. 6.
Who is
Oh,
Essex next game against?
Kent on Friday.
Correct. How many years in a row did Simon Harmer win PCA MVP?
2.
3.
In which city will India play Pakistan in this summer's T20 World Cup?
You started,
New
so
York.
you'll finish.
What was that?
New York, is it?
Correct, mate. You smashed it.
Way-ho!
Boom.
I'll take that. Is 6 a good score? What did Ducky get?
Less. 4.
Oh, nice.
4.
Lucky, mate.
You are the new leader.
Top of the leaderboard, mate. You're
Perfect.
flying there. What a week. What a week you've had.
Great week. I need to retire now. Quit while I'm ahead.
I think that's going to be hard to beat, Jack. I'm not going to lie.
You're not a stato, but you know what your first class bowling average is. But yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Everyone knows, don't they?
So you can hit a good ball as well. Brunty was talking before you came on about how you can smack them.
Yeah, fantastic. It seems to be the new way. Cash went to both his hundreds with a maxi, didn't he? It seems to be the new thing, and I'm loving it. More, please.
Big time.
Right.
Cookie, we can let you go, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, what a fella. He's nailed that. And I've seen it. I mean, I don't know what the listeners learned, but I learned a lot there.
About him.
Yep, and his black book.
I genuinely am a massive fan of the Black Book, and I'd love to
How
hear
good is that?
from people who are listening if anyone's done similar in any way, or even umpires if they've got a little Black Book. That'd be fantastic to hear from as well. It's such a good idea. Well, if you did it in your career, you'd need about 5 or 6, wouldn't you? The amount of wickets you got.
Not quite. Jimmy, however, that would have been an unreal book.
Should we go a bit highbrow now with some news that came out in cricket in the news this week with the Prime Minister? Did you see that? I don't know if you saw that from all the way over in New Zealand, but Rishi Sunak, our esteemed Prime Minister, has pledged for the government to pump £35 million into grassroots cricket to help make it the most inclusive team sport in England and Wales. Thoughts, Katherine Sciver-Brunt?
It was bloody fantastic, wasn't it? Great news to wake up to, and looking just sort of on social media, clipping through and seeing it on, I actually first saw it, I think, on Ebony Rainford Brent's story. A good friend of mine used to play with her ex-England professional cricketer, and she was there with the ACE program and the initiative she created there. And there's just so many fantastic things happening at the minute. We were hoping, obviously, to get Cash on, and obviously he's been through Saka, and there's just so many great things happening for cricket and the wider world of cricket. And what Richie's doing here will no doubtedly catapult cricket again. And these domes, we need to talk about these domes that are going to be built. 16 domes.
16 of them around I'd love to see the plans of what they'll look like, or the size of them.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know how much money is the ideal amount. I know how much these are going to cost as well, but it's great though, because it's going to give a chance to state school kids, to those underrepresented communities. It's just accessibility with cricket, isn't it? It's trying
Yeah.
to get the equipment or get somewhere to play, indoors, outdoors, get it back in the schools in some form.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how, just get it in there.
I think the aim is to reach another million, isn't it? Another million kids.
It'd be
Just
great if
like
they could.
just like what Chance to Shine did. So yeah, I think some of that money will be going towards that program too. So, and the Lord Taverner. So I think it's going to be a fantastic thing to happen. And I'd love, like you say, I'd love to see those architectural plans because it feels like they'll be about 10 million each.
I know. I don't know
What's
what the
the?
size of them will be,
Oh, they'll be good.
or whether it's just going to be a converted chicken shed in the middle of a field somewhere. I don't know, but it'd be great to see it. But yeah, the government have obviously copped a lot in recent years, but that is very positive news for our great sport, isn't it? So, moving on to something a little bit more lowbrow. It's just something that happened in the IPL this week. Obviously, Kohli got 113 not out. Who is he? RCB, isn't he? And Joss Butler's Rajasthan were chasing, and Joss got 100 not out of 58 balls. Butler come back to the party, Sam.
Actual freak in the IPL.
How good is he? And how good is it to go to that game and you got to see Kohli and Butler in full flow?
I think the locals would definitely not have appreciated Butler outdoing Kohli, but you know, these things happen.
Who would you rather watch in full out of those two innings? Which one would you have rather watched?
If I was in India, watching the game in India, I'd rather watch Kohli, just because I've just been out there to experience the women's WIPL, obviously, and that was fantastic, and the atmosphere was wild. But can you imagine the atmosphere watching Virat Kohli score 100? That would just be insane. I think it would be deafening. So I love watching them both back, to be honest, both in different ways. Obviously, got to support my English counterpart in Joss, but Kohli for me in India would be something to watch, wouldn't it?
Well, it'd been epic. They're both absolutely world class, but Kohli in India, like he's just an actual superstar, isn't it? It's different. It's a different league over there, isn't it? Hopefully, the women's game goes in a similar way as well, because it's going to grow and grow, isn't it? The women's IPL over there.
Yeah, I was keeping my eye on like how that was going down, and there's the likes of Smriti Mandana's got like 9 million followers. Like, I never thought I'd ever see that in women's cricket in my whole life, but that's just mad. 9 million followers, and it's on every other advert in India. It's
great,
crazy.
isn't it?
I love it. It's great. It can. What they're going to do is make things better for us here. So great.
100%. But will India's women's team end up being a massive powerhouse as well off the back of it in a few years, do you think?
Yes, they will. It's worrying. Some of their local cricketers are just, and some of these girls have never had opportunities, so they're coming out of the woodworks. There's a girl, she's 29, one was 36, and they're both brilliant. And they've just been nowhere. And it's like, how many have you got like lined
Some
up in
great
the
stories.
shadows? Yeah, and the stories are unreal. Yeah.
What's going on in cricket next week?
Yeah, talk us through it, Jack.
We got more county championships starting on Friday, haven't we? We've got some big games in Div 1, Surrey v Somerset. Warwickshire played Durham. Loving to see Durham back in Div 1. They got rained off this week. They didn't bowl a ball. They've got to go down to Edgbaston. You got the Battle of the Bridge, Essex at home to Kent. You got Hampshire, who didn't bowl a ball, against Lancs, who bowled a few balls, and they've got Nathan Lyon bowling some balls for them as well. And he'll be suited to it down at the Rose. But then again, they'll probably make it green for Abbott, Barker and Abbas, so he might not. It could be interesting. And then you've got Notts, who will need to bounce back this week against Worcestershire, who are obviously back in Div 1 this year, but started very well against Warwickshire this week. And then down in Div 2, you got Glamorgan with Sam North East, bucket of runs against Derbyshire, who didn't bowl a ball this week. Gloucester, again, didn't bowl a ball against home to Yorkshire, who got to draw Harry Brook, by the way, 100 off 69 balls in the county championship this week.
Love it.
He hit 14 fours and 2 sixes, so he got 68 runs in boundaries. Absolute jet, that kid. He's an absolute freak. Northants are at home to Middlesex. Both teams drew this week. My old boys down at Steelbacks, we could see them get going. And Leicestershire at home to Sussex. Sussex nearly managed to get a win against Northants this week. They played quite well. They're young spinners. So there's a lot going on there. And then obviously we'll keep an eye out for the English people in the IPL. What's going on with women's cricket, the England team are coming back now, so I guess they've got feet up for a while, are they? Or
Yeah, a little tiny break. So if you've just nipped over to Queenstown or Auckland just for a couple of days and then heading straight back, because some time at home is necessary.
listener feedback.
Listener
Let's
feedback.
get through it.
Yes.
What have you got for me, Brunty?
I don't know. I've been dreading this
Why?
because we asked for it. Well, it's feedback, isn't it? It could be
But
savage.
it's all for you.
Yeah, but it could be savage for me. But
No.
let's have a little looky here. Right, we've got our first bit of feedback. Abby Boswell Harris just wanted to say what a fantastic podcast. It was funny, relaxed, laid back, and that made for really easily listening. Sometimes podcasts can be too formal and it makes them boring, but this was great. I can't wait for the next episode. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Abby. Big hugs. Much love.
Yes, that's actually so good to hear. We need to hear that because you just don't know, do you? It could be a load
It's
of
a
dross.
relief that we've got a listener who's going to probably come back for episode 2.
Yes. Nice one, Abby. Much appreciated.
We've also got another one from Kirsten Rye. Excited to have a new cricket podcast to listen to. Sounds like Katherine is having a ball following Nat Sciver-Brunt around the world, your lovely wife. My question is, do you, Katherine, feel like professional cricketers are supported enough in the lead up and after retirement?
Interesting. Good question, actually, Kirsten.
That caught you off guard, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Good question, and yeah, not the easiest one to answer, to be honest, because it's not that. I don't think it's one size fits all sort of situation. Some people are retired after 5 years, some 10, some 15, and unfortunately, I'm institutionalized at nearly 20. So it's been very difficult, but I think the support is there. I think towards the end of your career, not so much there, because you don't want that. You don't want people to talk to you about, are you retiring soon? Have you thought about life after cricket? You kind of want that to be ignored because I'm playing cricket and I want to, concentrate on that. But certainly after retirement, there's plenty of support. The PCA's in place there to make that transition as smooth as it can be. There's no getting away from the fact that it's not smooth, and everybody will have a ride of a certain up and down, I guess. But there's certainly support there, and I've had plenty thrown at me. I might have thrown back a fair bit.
No, don't say.
Yeah, I'm fine. Leave me alone. But yeah, the PCA have been brilliant. There's Sophie Connor in there. I'm just going to give her a shout out. Constantly badgering me. I'm only joking.
Nice.
She's great. No, it's good. It's great to feel like, someone's got your back out there, and if you need someone, they're there. So yeah, it's been good.
Oh, man, yeah, they've been great for me as well. I'm not quite as institutionalised as you, but I have finished at the same time as you and a similar age. Not quite as long in the game because I did work in sales for about 4 years before cricket. But yeah, it can be daunting, and the real world is not as fun as playing cricket for a living,
No.
especially initially, when it's literally your hobby and your thing that you're best at and you enjoy more than anything. But you just got to find a way of filling that void, whether it be something fulfilling financially, something fulfilling for your well-being. You've got to find that thing. For me, cricket is too big a thing for me to turn around and turn my back on, really. So I want to stay involved as much as I can.
Yeah.
But see what I can do in the meantime. But yeah, that question could run and run with the answers, couldn't it? Great
Yeah,
question.
I could literally go on about that for about another hour and a half. So, but we'll keep it short and sweet.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Next question from Darcy Boot. Lovely name. I love your enthusiasm for the game, Katherine. Here we go. It's the fan club again. I love watching the Brunt versus Verma battle as it shows your true spirit and your constant fight for what the team needs, as well as an amazing performance under pressure. Please, could you give me a shout out on your next podcast episode? That's from Darcy Boot.
Well, shout out Darcy Boot. Thanks for bringing up my battles versus Verma. Yeah, I got so much. I got a lot of love for that, but tons of hate for that. I
Really?
think because of it. Well, it's like if I was a dude, that would be me v Coley. Like
Really?
it would just be. It's pretty big.
No backing down.
No, but she was at the time when we had this said battle. She was number 1 T20 batter in the world. So I just saw that as I'm up against bowling against the best batter in the world right now. And she might have been only 17, but that didn't matter. You're stood on an international stage in front of me. I'm gonna, give it my all. So no, it was great. She gave it back as much as I gave it. So it was a great battle, and it's a shame there couldn't have been more of it. She got me at the end of my career, and I got hers near the beginning of hers. So I think I've done her a favour. Everything should be easy now.
Still memorable though. Obviously Darcy's really appreciate it. I used to love watching you play though, because you seem to play a game that not many people in women's cricket did, really, with the attitude, the verbals, the look, and the venom you used to carry. And I've been coaching the women's game in the last couple of years, and you're kind of trying to say, look, do you want to give them a bit of stick? Do you want to give them the eye, a bit of a verbal? You're trying to encourage it to some of these young bowlers, and they all seem so against it. And I'm just like, Bruntie's in a world of her own in this, really. Like, fair play to her, but I bet you're dying to see the next sort of few that come through with that sort of vigor that you had.
I am. I don't know. I could, if everybody knows my backstory, they'd probably know why I've always been like I am. There's a lot of bottled up stuff there, and you can't sell that. I wish you could. But yeah, Sarah Taylor used to say, "Don't take that away from her. Let her go." Like, because they've tried to bottle that up from me my whole career. Like, do that less. But Sarah used to say, "Do it more." So you can't. You have to release the beast. I can't keep it inside.
Is that when you've
But
got
it did.
the good and the evil on each shoulder?
Yeah, it did bring out the best in me, but at times it did, a bit
I
much.
used to love watching it. I know a lot of people did, so that's fantastic. I think you did so much for the women's game, Bruntie. I could sit here and big you up a bit more, but no, you'd probably be a bit embarrassed by it. Another question from Ithaca Thacker. Katherine, your 8 wicket. This is just the Katherine Brunt loving, isn't it? Katherine Sciver-Brunt loving. Katherine, your 8 wicket haul in Ashes Test in 22 is one of the best spells that I've ever seen, and the perfect swing delivery that you bowled to Annabelle Sutherland that clipped the top of the off stump will remain rent free in my mind forever.
That's a good saying. That I love that when people say that. It's living rent free in my mind also.
Do you live it over and over now and again and think, yeah, that was a decent seed?
To be fair, getting Healy for a pair, that was my favourite. That lives extremely rent free. And funnily enough, all the highlights from that series, it's the first time I've been allowed to say it, they wouldn't see Cricket Australia wouldn't release that to me.
What?
To have. I know. Shady, isn't it? I think they just didn't want everybody to be able to play the Aussies getting out on repeat. So
which one? The
it's a shame, really.
dismissals or the Annabelle Sutherland?
All of them. All of them. But I think mainly at the time, they wouldn't release it to like the ECB, to play as clips on their websites and stuff.
Dirty
Aussies. I know.
Have you had it since?
I haven't actually. I think I could probably get it, obviously, but.
Well, let's start a campaign.
So one of our producers just said #show us Healy's pair. He thought that might be inappropriate, but I decided that was fine. But let's not hashtag that. Just hashtag under the lid, guys. Let's just
get all of
let's clip it up and get it back on the internet.
KSB's fan club who email us in. Let's just start a little campaign on something, on some form of social media, and start peppering the Cricket Australia for that footage.
So that's the end of our feedback and questions. Loved it. Obviously, get some in there for Jack, please. Or else he's going to start. Yeah, look at that sad face, everybody. It's some bottom lip's gone. But obviously next week, let's have a few more. they're actually sounding really good. Actually, there's some really good questions in there, so great. And it's #underthelid or emailed at hello@underthelid.co.uk. So thank you.
Wicked. Thanks again for those messages. Well, that was fantastic. We obviously did something right first episode, and now, sorry, but that is 2 down. We're going to have to finish this one. Bring on number 3. What do you have on when you get back, Brunty? So you're going to be in the air now for probably about 24 hours, aren't you? Give or take.
Yeah, honestly, the flight back from New Zealand. Feet up. Nat is looking forward to seeing Bella, our dog. Absolute beauty. Getting in the house. Having a house sometimes seems pointless because you're just never in it. The garden's going to be a state, so I'll have to take care of that. It sounds so boring, but mainly probably just Netflix and chill. There are other platforms to use. But yeah, that's going to be it. Relax, take the dog walking, do normal people things, go to a cafe, unpack, wash my stuff, and then figure out the next phase of the life, because my life is strange. I don't want to be a wag. I want to do my own thing. So we'll see. There's plenty of things out there, lots of exciting things about to happen for me, I think, in the next few months. So I'll keep you
100%.
updated
There's going
on
to
the
be so
pod.
much good stuff.
Right, I've definitely got a bus to catch in about 16 minutes, and they will definitely leave without me. So I better go.
We'll get home safe. I look forward to speaking to you when you're back in the country. But thanks for listening. Please hit subscribe, leave a review, tell your mates, and see you soon. Under the lid.
Yes, under the lid.